What's going on, friends? It is Tuesday evening. We're a few hours removed from NWA Power tonight on Fight TV. So that means that Powerrrout is going to be starting in just a few short minutes. We, of course, out of courtesy for the people who like the other black and gold wrestling brand, we're doing a bit of overrun time. It's our pre-show gimmick. We're just chit-chatting and shooting the shit until the show proper starts. I think that's the only swear word I'm allowed. So no more swearing for the rest of the broadcast. Danhausen rules apply. I got two people joining me, both valued members of the Love Wrestling team. Bobby Munson, who joined me recently at the NWA 73 reaction show for Powerrrout. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. Hope everyone's having a good time out there tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, Laurence, a return. You're something of a regular returning guest on the show now, Laurence, and it's always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, always a good time to be here. I am again up past my bedtime, so if I pass out, it's a fun experiment.
Oh, dude. Well, I appreciate you burning the midnight oil at our expense. Man, yeah, you just messaged me a few minutes ago. Like, did we have a miscommunication? Were you under the impression we were starting this a bit earlier?
Oh no, I thought we were doing it a little later.
Okay.
I thought we were starting at like 10:30.
Okay, no. We're just gonna chit chat till. We're gonna be reviewing NWA until about like 10:30, 10:45, and then the good crew for the War Report are gonna take over, and they're gonna react to tonight's NXT. In fact, Laurence, are you watching NXT right now?
I just turned it off, and
okay,
as I got ready.
How long is NXT? I caught the first hour. Is it a 2-hour show or what's going on there?
It's a 2-hour show. It's usually just.
It's been a while since I tuned into a weekly episode of NXT, so I kind of checked out the first hour there tonight.
Right on. Yeah, we'll go for at least 5 minutes. We don't have to exactly be super diligent about it. If people miss a couple first few minutes of Powerrrout, so be it. We're all here to have a good time anyway. So aside from NWA, what are you guys enjoying in wrestling lately? Laurence, let's start with you.
Oh, I'm really enjoying this build up to All Out. That seems like a fairly solid card, and I'm really excited for the some of the GCW shows this weekend. And I personally ordered Effie's Big A Brunch. I'm excited for that. There are a lot of good matches on there.
Dude, I want to cycle back to GCW right now because I don't follow, but man, Matt Cardona seems to be doing everything right as a heel for like a foil to that particular group. Like what he did to the GCW Championship, Velcro, spinner belts, side plates, antithesis of everything anti-mainstream wrestling.
Yeah, he is just digging the knife in. And into those fans' hearts more and more. He's playing it absolutely perfectly.
We've got eyes on NXT via Ed in the chat room. He's letting us know that Ridge Holland versus Ciampa is going well. And again, those are two talented wrestlers. I can't imagine it going otherwise. Again, we're going to run this pre-show gimmick till about 5 minutes after and, give NXT time to wrap up. But if they're not done within the next minute and a half, we got to jump in and start doing our NWA reaction because it left us lots to talk about. But before we get to that, Bobby, the same question to you. What are you enjoying outside of the NWA lately?
You know what? Not a whole lot at the moment. It's been a while since MLW have really had any new episodes of Fusion. That tends to be my go-to for weekly programming. Just mostly been watching the big cards and stuff like that. Of course, like the NWA stuff over the weekend. And then before that, it was SummerSlam and the NXT event prior to that. There has been a lot of great individual matches, but I've been spending some time going back on a lot of old classics like I tend to do all the time, revisiting some of the stuff from the 90s. I just did a little bit of a wrap up watching the old Bret Hart versus Ric Flair from my hometown here in Saskatoon. When Bret won the championship. I was there live at that show in '92, so it's fun to be able to go back and watch that once again.
Damn, that's wrestling history right there.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, we're all on the subject of Bret Hart. Laurence and I are Montreal boys. Laurence, were you at the Montreal Screwjob?
No, but I had a friend of mine and a one-time Quizplex player, Ben Simon. He was there as a kid. One of his first wrestling memories was at the Screwjob.
Yeah, I tried. Young Zak did try to convince his parents to let him go to the Survivor Series, but unfortunately, it was a lost cause. But with that, the pre-show gimmick is coming to an end. We're going to be hopping onto our little intro video, narrated by the departed Mr. J, who's been replaced by the wordsmith over on Poetry of a Promo, and he's going to take us into the show after Powerrrout, of course. The NXT reaction show, The War Report, begins immediately after, so hang around this stream for your double dose of reaction shows.
Ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Powerrrout. Yeah, it's Powerrrout.
It is Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, which means that your double dose of Love Wrestling live reactions is beginning right now. We are, of course, as always, kicking off with the NWA reaction for Power. This is Powerrrout. My name is Zach Ralph. I am your host. I am joined by my guest co-host today. We're keeping it all within the Love Wrestling family today. We got to my screen. Well, my screen's right. Bobby Munson, how you doing, friend?
I'm great. How's everyone doing out there?
Doing well, doing well. And below is one of the frequent guests here on Powerrrout, Mr. I almost called you Lucas, man. I don't know why I am doing that. It's like, my brain is
really. This is at the point you find out you're the villain. You're the villain here, and you can't help it.
So this is my villain origin story, right here with humble roots here on Powerrrout. Laurence, thank you so much for joining us on the show, despite my complete neglect of your first name, and I'm so sorry about that.
I'm doing well. Hope everyone else is doing well tonight.
Absolutely. I shouldn't be getting your name wrong. Like aside from the wordsmith, like you're the person on the team that I've known for the longest. And my brain is just, I'm going to continue apologizing from here till, for the entire journey of Love Wrestling, I assume. So friends, we are here. We're of course reacting to tonight's NWA Power, the season premiere after an amazing weekend of 2 pay-per-views from the National Wrestling Alliance. It's of course your first part of our 2-part stream. Stay on this very stream. You don't have to go anywhere. No new links. Immediately after Powerrrout, the War Report begins with your NXT reaction for tonight's other black and yellow wrestling brand, unless they've resorted to that multicolored splashes of vibrant paint with whale accompanying in the background. I don't know if they've resorted to that yet, but I'm just calling them the black and gold brand because that's what I'm familiar with. Sorry? No, nobody? Just with voices in my head?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're before we really jump in, Bobby, we discussed NWA 73 at length this weekend on Powerrrout on the Sunday edition. Laurence, what did you think of this weekend of pay-per-views?
I watched in Power. I greatly enjoyed it. There are obviously little production issues, but as far as the matches go, pretty much every match from top to bottom was a banger. Everyone, it's one of those times where you could really tell it really mattered to everyone on the card to do their very best. And there's so many people who are given the chance to look like stars for some of them for the first time. Some don't get that much time, especially in that big a platform. So it's really nice to see. I greatly enjoyed that pay-per-view, and hopefully it's a sign of, once again, other companies following suit and giving their women more time and trusting in them and knowing that they're profitable and that they have a chance to make stars out of them.
100% agreed, man. I'm going to tout this match, these two matches, as often as whenever EMPOWERRR comes out. But Melina versus Deonna Purrazzo and Camille versus legit Layla Hirsch. I have not been lost in a wrestling match like that in a very long time, and I thank those four amazing performers for that experience, because it was just an absolute privilege to watch. But we got to move on. We could probably do a whole third episode of Powerrrout about these pay-per-views, but we got to jump into the season premiere because it left us lots to talk about. And of course, we want to give the War Report ample start time to begin. So, we kick off the show. We kicked off with a new theme. Into the Fire is gone. It's gone. Dokken has been replaced. This new song sounds familiar to me, but I can't quite place it. Does anyone recognize it? Is this like a Smashing Pumpkins song or something?
No, I didn't recognize that.
No,
are they not using I didn't quite catch it, but I have a funny feeling it's one of the new tunes from the Smashing Pumpkins' latest album.
Okay, I couldn't pick any of those songs out of a lineup right now, so I couldn't quite. But it did have some certainly some early Smashing Pumpkins vibes. That it's catchy, but it's not Into the Fire. It's not what sold me on Powerrr to begin with. But that is what it is. Not going to let a new theme ruin the show for me. So we cut to the chase, literally, because they're in the Chase Park Plaza once again. They're continuing filming from the storied venue. We kick off. We got Joe Galley, Tim Storm, and Velvet Sky on the call. Joe tells us we're going to hear from all the champions tonight, and that Nick Aldis will not be in attendance, and he is in fact taking a leave of absence. This, of course, cuts to Kyle Davis with Camille and her boyfriend. Camille fights off Layla Hirsch-Chance, because Layla is over in St. Louis right now. Camille takes exception to fighting twice in the same weekend while her boyfriend was being put in a very dangerous match. They both call out Billy Corgan for trying to put them in harm's way. Laurence, let me start with you. What do you think of this? And actually, sorry, just one quick shout out. Hey Darnell, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Powerrrout. Please let us know what you think of tonight's NWA broadcast. And of course, do hang around for the NXT reaction for the War Report. But again, Laurence, the floor is yours for Camille and Tom Latimer's promo.
Yeah, I personally didn't enjoy the promo so much. Like, it was a little stuff. Like, I felt Camille might have done better just there by herself. I don't know why her dope bag boyfriend needs to be next to her the entire time. Didn't really serve anything. Like, it was like the whole time I felt she struggled with it a little bit, and like it was a little awkward, and them going back and forth. Like, didn't particularly enjoy it. I felt like the second half, when the new NWA champion came out, is when it really picked up.
Yeah.
And he sort of like awkwardly stared at him as he walked away. That was sort of like a weird transition.
It was the first of many weird transitions this particular evening in a very promo-heavy edition of Powerrrout. Of Powerrr, thank you. See, I don't get just your name wrong. I get the name of my own show wrong. So, it's a character flaw, and I accept it.
It honestly felt like this show should have been called Promo.
Promomania. Bobby, I know you were kind of tuning in and tuning out to tonight's episode of Powerrr. So did you catch this part, the opening promo?
I did, and one of the reasons why is because I am a big Camille fan. I like the progression that she's been showing. 2 great matches from her over the weekend, and I wanted to see what she had to say. I gotta say, I really find Camille at this point in her career someone that I would rather be like a silent assassin personally. I find she is more dominating when she doesn't say a word and she speaks with actions inside the ring.
She was very compelling as that strong silent type, and I totally respect that she wants to grow as a performer. So like, she's taking every opportunity to learn on the mic and take the time to do these segments, and I totally respect that. I am kind of leaning towards your point, Laurence. I didn't think she quite hit the. It wasn't like a dynamic promo. Like, it was just something was a little bit off. I did like her shutting down Kyle Davis, who got the name of their stable wrong. He called Strictly Business Risky Business, which immediately beckons images of Nick Aldis dressed as Tom Cruise, but that's a whole different podcast. But also otherwise, man, I am so over this whole Strictly Business versus Billy Corgan rivalry. They, Strictly Business keeps citing a conspiracy, and I don't even know if they're really going to pay it off. Is it more so just a character trait of this faction that they just, curse you, Billy Corgan, at every opportunity? It's very strange to me. Ride jumping, and I was amazed at the number of flubs during the show. Kyle Davis all night, big Colby Carino flub. Yeah, I know the one you're referring to. And Melina Adonis thing was bizarre too. Yeah. If I didn't have 45 minutes of podcast to film tonight, man, that really sums up the evening's experience for tonight's episode of Power. But we're going to dive into each of those little flubs, major flubs in some cases, as the night goes on. But as mentioned, after the Camille promo, the real world's champion, the NWA heavyweight champion, Trevor Murdoch, and it's so good to say heavyweight champion Trevor Murdoch right now and not Nick Aldis. Got all the time for Nick, but man, time was done. Murdoch acknowledges Aldis's absence and how they went to war over the championship. He says in spite of everything that Aldis did it right. He deserves respect for holding the championship for over 1,000 days, and says he hopes Nick Aldis returns sometime soon because he is good for business. He also says that he went into the Chase hoping to make Harley Race proud, and he feels like he must have done so. So, very solid promo, but I am not crazy about how much time he spent talking about Nick Aldis. I get it. Nick Aldis was a big deal for holding the championship so long, but he said so much about Nick and very little about himself. Bobby, what's your take?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as you in that sense too. There need to be more of why it's great that he's the champion, what he's got to look forward to, or what we have to look forward to as him as champion moving forward. And it was more just, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, we saw enough thank yous at NWA 73 from Ric Flair in the 2-hour promo he delivered that really this didn't need to be so promo heavy. They could have cut to the chase. Here I am. I'm your new champion. This is what we got for business coming up. Let's get down to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Laurence?
Yeah, I agree with the both of you. I did like the little bit about him talking about how, at some point all title reigns end, and the feeling of having to lose it and not wanting to lose the title, and how he's already just trying to soak in the moment of what it's to be the NWA champion. But yeah, he stayed too long harping. It was nice at first. I appreciated showing the respect and saying this guy's been champion forever. There's no denying it at this point. He is what it is. I clearly respect him. He harped on it a little too long, and should have moved on for a little bit from there instead. Talk about potential challengers coming up for him, or what he wants to set up for his title reign as the real heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that's it. All this is reign. Say what you will about it. I know it was a bit, subject to very different criticisms and whatnot. But it does, by length alone, it should certainly be recognized. But taking the time that Murdoch didn't think it merited all that additional time. Yeah, and actually, Ryan brings up a good point here as well. I'm not sure why he's talking him up. Didn't all this screw him at the pay-per-view before? He absolutely did. Yeah, I think he wasn't saying he did the match the right way, but holding the championship for representing the NWA for as long as he did. I think that might have been what he was referring to. But again, I'm not trying to apologize for Trevor Murdoch's promo or anything. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, wrong one. How many people did all this screw over his during the run too? Yeah, I mean that's absolutely fair. I guess I can't really speak to Trevor Murdoch's intentions, but yes, there was a little dissonance with that whole "did it right" line. But that is what it is. But again, we got more flubs to cover, and Rye pointed this one out in this upcoming promo. This is May Valentine. Excuse me, I'm just gonna. Got an airplane. I've got an airplane problem. Didn't want to.
Look overhead. It's Max Moon.
Max Moon. So yeah, May Valentine is with the winners of the championship series. She's with Colby Carino, the Pope, and Jax Dane. Colby Carino assumes that he's got a championship shot coming his way. All the while calling Velvet Sky Red Velvet, by the way, which is the flub that we are in fact referring to. Pope says the NWA is always in a constant state of war, a war of opportunity. And Jax Dane's, the only real fragment of this promo with any substance, he says, straight up, he's going after the NWA World's Champion. That, Trevor Murdoch says that a bigger, badder champion will eventually come. And Jax Dane touts himself as that guy. Friends, I'm going to rant because the championship series I had so much issues with, and I thought it was done. I thought it was behind us, but now I feel like the ghost of the championship series is haunting me because not only did they revisit it, but they changed the rules and the thing is already over. Originally, I swear, I'm not making this up. I hope I'm not imagining this, but I could have sworn that the championship opportunity would be afforded to the legend in the captains, which in this case would have been Velvet Sky. She could have also given her championship opportunity to someone within her team. Now they're all touting, all three of them are touting that they all have a championship opportunity. Why? Like, this championship series was a mess from the get-go, and it continues to be a mess, and it's over. Laurence, what did you think?
I think the championship series is the friends we made along the way.
It was.
Yeah, it seems incredibly convoluted. I'm pretty sure I also have a title shot. I literally just found out, was not expecting it.
Which championship will you be challenging for?
Ooh, I like one person to not have a title. Clearly, that's on TV that fought in the main event, so maybe him.
Bobby, did you catch this segment? Did you catch the championship series? What's your take here?
You know what? I don't really have any more fuel to add to the dumpster fire on this one, so I think we can move on from that.
Shout out to John Bauer, who's joining us. You guys rock. Thank you very much for joining us, John. Always a pleasure to see you. This is also a good question. Where is the female competitor? Shame on me here too. But I also put some of the blame at NWA's feet. I couldn't tell you who was a member of any team at any given point. Like, if you told me Colby Carino was on Crimson's team, like, I wouldn't bat an eye. Like, these teams were inflated and they didn't make a lot of sense. I'm not sure who the female competitor was for this one for Team Pope and Velvet, but I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell. But if anyone else has any insights in the comments, please feel free to enlighten us of who might have been the female competitor on Team Pope Velvet Sky. But from there, from there we move on. Oh, geez. Sorry, I got a couple notes that are just jumbled here. We get the first match of the night. Here we go. We have Sky Blue versus Kira Hogan. Code of honor at the start of the match, turning into a spirited competition between two very dynamic talents trying to one-up one another. Kira kind of picks up the win, hitting the Face the Music, and then she immediately gets in Mickie James's face, who was sitting at the commentary booth for this match. And, it's much to the confusion of the commentary team. Kira says she heard what Mickie said. Mickie doesn't know what she's talking about. The rest of the commentary team is confused at what Kira might be referring to. But the match itself, Bobby, floor is yours.
The match itself was fine. It did what it needed to do and everything like that. But again, yeah, it's the confusion at the end that really kind of takes away from it and stuff like that. And again, we had the start of what seemed to be Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo from NWA 73, and now we're leaning into this whole thing. I really don't know where it's going, and I'm a little confused at this point.
Yeah, I do worry about that too. Like, so far, I don't have a lot of faith in NWA to tell two different rivalries that involve one person going in two branching feuds. Maybe Kira and Deonna align at some point, but that's neither here nor there. Laurence, the match, what did you think?
Oh, I think it's my favorite match of the night, although there weren't very many on the show.
Fair.
Yeah. I think Kiera Hogan looked really good. Like that sort of like low kick to the corner was shot perfectly too. Like right
Oh yeah,
before
yeah.
that looked super cool. And I was a little thrown off. I don't know exactly what was happening with at the end of the match when she went to the commentary table. But like I'm excited to see more of Kiera Hogan. She's clearly very talented. There's a high upside to her.
Absolutely. I really liked the match. I liked what I saw of this match. I felt it was missing like a second act. You know, like the first act was them doing the whole feeling out process, and it was really good mat work and everything. And then just like rather than build a little more, they immediately started going to like the big moves and like the big strikes, the big throws and everything. You know, and kind of like rush to the finish. I really want to see these two go at it again with a lot more time because I really liked what I saw, but I wanted to see more. Whoever is manning the Love Wrestling social accounts on right now is actually filling us in. Female competitor for Team Pope and Velvet Sky was Genocide, who we hear from later tonight, but you know nothing about this championship series, which is just a shame, but that's all right. And yeah, then I'm sorry guys, I'm not good at managing all these panels. My mind is just where's my mind? Yes, speaking of Genocide, we move on to the next promo of the evening. Kyle Davis is with Taryn Terrell, Genocide, and Paula Blaze. Excuse me. Taryn steals all the attention from her partners and hogging the mic before they are interrupted by the women's tag team champs, the Hex, Allison Kay, and Marty Bell. Shortly into their exchange, the NWA tag team champions, La Rebellion, interrupt the scene as well. They put over the Hex as fellow champions as well as themselves before making their way to the match to survey making their way to the ring to survey a qualifying match for the tag team title scene. You know, I feel like this was just putting them on screen for the sake of it. All these performers deserve the time on screen, but it didn't really accomplish all that much. That's my take from this. Laurence.
Yeah, I agree. There was like I did enjoy like the Hex on the mic. Their promo wasn't too bad. But yeah, it got a little convoluted, and bringing in the male tag team champions in the end just seemed a little weird. And Russ, like, you're just trying to get him on screen for a bit to like transition to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, like, of course, I'll probably bring up this very same point in a few minutes, but the La Rebellion has their own promo segment a few blocks down the program. So they didn't really need to be out here. And I think that just speaks to the lack of direction on the segment itself. Bobby.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, this whole thing kind of felt like the whole episode. It was just cramming people in for the sake of having them in the same room. I mean, they already had them there for NWA 73, so why not put as much into one episode as you possibly can, which really kind of muddled up the entire episode. It was, again, very promo heavy, so many interruptions. It was interruption after interruption and just unnecessary interruptions and overexposure of people as well, too. We don't need the tag champs out there twice in the same night on a 1 hour episode of Powerrrout. Stretch it out a little bit. Do the tapings ahead of time. Give us some episodes down the road. Let's give us some time to see some faces and let them be out there do what they do best, which is being in the ring wrestling.
You know, muddle the waters. I think that says it perfectly. You'll have to excuse me. I was laughing at Rye's comment. Taryn Terrell in the most ridiculously revealing top in history. I think this is like one step north of Sable wearing body paint on pay-per-view. Quite revealing indeed. We move on to the tag team match that we were referring to that Rebellion came out to survey. We get El Rudo and Nick Stanley versus Captain Yuma and Rush Freeman. These are two newly formed teams. We get showboating diva-esque heel work from the Rude Dudes, being Stanley and Rudo. Surprised to see the larger Rush Freeman doing the better part of the selling for this match for the baby faces, while it's Captain Yuma, who I have all the love in the world for, getting the hot tag. But when he comes in, it's still a little too late. A little too late. The Rude Dudes finish off the team known as the Ill Begotten with a very nice looking tandem backbreaker double stomp for the win. I have Laurence.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match. It was a fun, not very long tag match. I do enjoy Captain Yuma, who looks like a fighting vice principal. Or like a dad or like a dad who got lost at a PTA meeting and like showed up at a wrestling show. I was like, "Oh, I'll stay here."
Bobby?
Yeah, Captain Yuma, he's comical in so many ways, but just not really my cup of tea at the same time. I don't have much to add here. I mean, it was fine. It was an all right match. It was okay. I just want to point out one thing. Is everybody aware that El Rudo stands for the rude one in the translation?
I mean, my Spanish isn't strong, but I always assumed that was the case.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. Just thought I'd throw in something extra for the chat.
Much appreciated, sir. Shout out to Dare Amazing joining us tonight. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat room. Thank you for joining us. Need to see more NWA. I could not advise it any more than I do on this weekly program of Powerrrout. But of course, please hang around for immediately after Powerrrout. You won't have to leave the stream. The War Report will be live with your NXT reaction shortly after we are done here tonight. And we have a few more segments to discuss. But as for the tag team match itself, like I really didn't like. I never like when a tag team is randomly thrown together, and then like putting a randomly thrown together team against a randomly thrown together team. It just like made it all stand up like a sore thumb. And even Velvet and Tim Storm were kind of like saying the same thing on commentary. Like they didn't really know what to make of this. That being said, I really like the chemistry of the Rude Dudes. I think there's some potential there for them as a tag team, and I would certainly like to see more of them. Now, mentioning Velvet Sky's name just kind of brought something back to my memory. Something I wanted to share. This Thursday, the Smark and Friends podcast, my very first foray into content creation in the wrestling scene, which I started a few years ago with the Two Finger Guns Club, is migrating to Love Wrestling. And my first interview, which is going to once again be airing this Thursday, is with the voice of the NWA, Joe Galli. So I spoke to him for a moment and asked him what it's like working with Velvet Sky and Tim Storm as they grow into their roles as commentators.
Just like on the whole subject of commentary, I think like one of the unsung stories about this post-hiatus run of NWA has been watching Tim Storm and Velvet Sky grow in their roles as commentators. Because man, it's just like a privilege to listen to them grow alongside you at the commentary table. What's it been like working with them these past few months?
I've known Tim Storm for a long time. Well before I was picked to be a commentator for the National Wrestling Alliance. I spent years as the commentator for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which they're still making shows. That's Dave Marquez's production. If anybody wants to see any of their products anywhere in the world, it's available on Fight TV for free. And I wouldn't be anywhere without having that start with Dave Marquez. And that's how I got introduced to Tim, and how I got introduced to Nick and to Billy. And so having that history with Tim is great. And Tim's just such a down-to-earth guy. I mean, he is such a chill dude. And his knowledge of professional wrestling is on par with the greats. I mean, there's people out there, people say Tony Khan is an encyclopedia of pro wrestling, and that may be true. I've never met TK, but I can tell you Tim Storm is in that same caliber. And then you take a look at Velvet, and it's always Velvet time. And she's done everything. She's been a world champion, and she just brings in something. And this is exactly why Billy Corgan picked her to be in that position there at the desk. Is she's not your traditional broadcaster. She's not somebody that has a lot of experience in it, but the way that she talks and the way that she communicates opens us door for a whole nother audience, an audience of people who might not be dedicated pro wrestling fans, but someone who might be the spouse of someone who is. There might be, if you're the husband sitting there watching Power, sometimes we hear, oh, my wife's really into it and she loves Velvet.
One of many great topics we cover while in my chat with Joe Galli, including we revisit a viral clip that Joe Galli was subject to in his work as a news reporter out in San Antonio that merits YouTube comments like this. Joe Galli didn't choose the thug life chose him. Find out which moment in which the thug life did in fact choose Mr. Joe Galli on this Thursday's episode of Smark and Friends. So we move on. La Rebellion comes out and they say that they are, the NWA is going to be throwing random teams like these together, then they're going to be taking the tag team titles to Mexico until NWA brings them real competition. Once again, not sure why La Rebellion needed to interrupt earlier in the women's segment if they were just going to come out later and bring this up. But that is what it is. We've already spoken about La Rebellion, but if anyone has anything to add, please do so. Laurence.
No, I don't have too much to add. Like, it's a fine promos, but like again, they were there earlier for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, it seems sort of thrown together the first time.
Bobby, anything to add?
Sounds to me like La Rebellion's going on strike until FTR finally makes their way to NWA.
And again, I am so nervous. I really hope they are continuing. They're my favorite tag team right now in the whole wrestling industry, and they have been for some time. FTR. I really hope they come back. I hope Cash Wheeler can heal up and get healthy. And if I get to watch FTR wrestle, then that's a bonus. But what's important right now is Cash Wheeler's arm, which again, maybe I'm being worked, and I hope that's the case even more so. But till then, just pulling for you, Cash. We move on to I've lost count of what promo we're at in this particular evening.
77.
77. Let's go with that. Of course, the wordsmith is weighing in on the mask of Bestia 666 because it's a badass mask. And yeah, Dare Amazing's with us, hoping that Cash's arm is okay. Promo 77, as it shall henceforth be known. Chris Adonis comes out in a surprising appearance. He comes out alongside Melina. Adonis puts over Melina for being the incredible talent that she is and not being on the card for the season premiere of Power. Once again, a member of Strictly Business is trying to stir the pot with Billy, and they've incorporated Melina into the angle to do so. Melina states that she is not sure what the hype is about Camille. And then they are quickly interrupted by Father James Mitchell and Jedias, who's here to electrify the scene as he did at the pay-per-view. Mitchell warns that Adonis that Jedias is coming for him. I like the addition of Melina to Adonis's side, but there's some real dissonance here of like her being against Camille while being aligned with Chris Adonis. Like Chris Adonis even turns to her at one point and says, yes, Strictly Business is going to be backing me up when I have to show down with Jedias. And yes, Melina, that includes Camille. It was so shoehorned. It's awkward. I think Melina and Chris Adonis could make a great on-screen pair, but there was something that just wasn't working there. Bobby.
Yeah, it all, again, feels like everything was just kind of thrown together at the last minute. No one had any time to prepare. They weren't really sure where it was going moving forward. And so, again, that's what happens. You get people like Melina saying one thing that contradicts another thing and guys having to try to cover up for it kind of thing. So it becomes, again, another hot mess of a promo that they had here and just a whole lot of unnecessary business that was going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Laurence.
Yeah, it's like when you're doing a promo and contradicting the other person or going like doing two counter narratives there doesn't quite work. I don't know exactly why. Like I legitimately, I agree with you, Zach. I like the pairing of Chris Masterman. They look good together. And but again, when you're when you're in a team with the person you're cutting a promo against, it doesn't quite work.
That's it. Gentlemen, we only have a few minutes because I do want to leave the War Report with ample time to cover tonight's NXT program. So I will kind of be doing these next few segments in very, very brief bullet points. We move on to the second to last match of the night, Kenzie Page against Chelsea Green. Very short match, but an upset win for Kenzie Page with a roll up on Chelsea Green. After the match, Chelsea Green smudges her makeup and starts acting a lot maniacal. And, it looks like we're getting the hot mess back in the NWA, which I think is, Chelsea Green's far more dynamic incarnation of her character. Bobby.
Sure, but I don't think that this was the right timing just yet. You just built the sympathy for her in her loss over the weekend and stuff like that. I don't think it was time to ignite it just yet. Again, this felt too quick for me.
That's fair. I didn't consider that, but I think I agree with it. Laurence.
Yeah, I agree there. It did feel a little rushed. It was only your second loss, granted in 2 days, but I felt like if it was a third or fourth loss in a row, then bring it out, then realize thing. But I don't mind seeing the hot mess back.
Yeah, absolutely. We move on to James Storm with May Valentine. James Storm's a great wrestler. I have a lot of time for him, but they did not really say much of substance in here other than really like him and May Valentine just like off the cuff confirmed that he's still like a free agent and his time in the NWA might be limited. He's quickly interrupted by Austin Idol, who, you know, he's coming out and doing his thing. He's putting over his client. He also introduces his client's opponent for the evening for the television championship. Jordan Clearwater and Black G's come out. Looks like Clearwater thinks he's the one getting in the ring, but Black G steps into the ring first. We get a lot of contention between the two while the match is starting, but essentially not much really falls out of that dissension. G's takes the fight to the champion immediately at the bell, but the champ eventually takes full advantage and dominates until the win. The big dissonance here is I can't figure out where they're going. A few short weeks ago, Black G's and Jordan Clearwater had a handicap match against Austin Idol's client, and they voluntarily just did the job. They like G's convinced Clearwater, we're doing the job. We're just lying down. We're cozying up to Austin Idol and Entourage. And then this was an attempt at winning the TV championship by Black G's. I thought, maybe they were going to pad up the champion's reign by doing, the Lucky Seven thing and just feed him clients and whatnot. And, begrudgingly, I would have had to admit that would be very clever booking for, a champion who's not really known for his ring prowess or endurance. Laurence, what do you think of the main event?
I didn't think much of it. It wasn't a particularly good match. It was I didn't know, I didn't see that episode, so I didn't know much going into it. Again, even the dissension between Black Cheese and his partner, who's going to go to the match. I felt at the end, they sort of dropped that or kind of ignored it and just ended the episode. I thought something was going to happen there, a little more. The match was fine, I guess. Yeah. It was a quick match. Yeah, you knew it was going to last long. Yeah.
Get it done with. Exactly. Yeah. Bobby, before I turn to you, we got a really great question here that I want to turn our attention to. Dare Amazing asking us, sorry to ask, please don't be sorry, ask anything when you're joining us here on our live broadcast. But what is LPW on Twitter? Dare Amazing, that is a very good question. Bobby, what did you think of the match?
Well, as always, I love pro wrestling. Anyway, the match, I haven't actually watched this one just yet, and because one of the guys in it just sucks the life out of me and sucked the life out of me on Sunday, so I really just didn't have the energy this time for this one. But I can't say, aren't you looking forward to Jedias versus Tyrus down the road? Just doesn't have a nice ring to it.
Oh, I can hear myself unsubscribing in the future if that's the case.
I just lost the whole audience for us with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Our Twitter follower count's going down. Viewers are tuning out. That is what it is. But you're allowed one laps here on Powerrrout. But again, I think the people who are going to be joining us immediately after the end of Powerrrout, who are going to be reacting to tonight's NXT program on the War Report, are going to win the audience back. So we're going to turn to them. But before we do, Bobby, Laurence, start with Bobby. Let us know where to follow you on social media.
So as always, you can check out my show right on YouTube with my co-host Papa Smokes. We do Ring Respect Radio over at the Video Bros Network. You could also catch me on one half of the commentary team with Papa Smokes for Prairie Pro Wrestling. And we're looking forward to getting back to live shows again soon so we can call some more live wrestling matches.
Beautiful, beautiful. Laurence?
You can follow me at KartsANDG on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll be on the Sunday brunch this week and with you this weekend at IWS, hopefully filling some content, bringing to Love Wrestling.
We got a vlog on our mind. We got a couple entry points with the good people at the International Wrestling Syndicate, and it's going to make for a good weekend. And hopefully, we can make it to brunch the following day.
Yeah.
And with that, you can follow me on Twitter at SmarkMouth, on Instagram at smark.mouth, and you can follow at Smark and Friends, my podcast, my project near and dear to my heart, on Twitter as well. Thank you for joining us. Hang around the stream for the War Report immediately after this little extra video.
Welcome. Oh, wait. No, this is not Between Two Beards. Hold on. This is the War Report. The War Report. That's the War Report. All right, hold on. All right, are we here?
Okay.
Actually, I can't hear you. Now I can hear
There you go.
Oh, God. I thought I was going to pull a plug off from last week and have all kinds of technical difficulties. I'm going to get the hang of this switch over from two shows. Thank you to Zach, thank you to Bobby, and thank you to Laurence for the great coverage on Power. As somebody who doesn't choose to spend the $5 to watch Power, it's always great to watch Powerrrout and get to know what was going on. Because there's so much fantastic stuff. Astrid, you watch EMPOWERRR. I don't know if you watch NWA 73. What did you think of the whole weekend with them?
Oh, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's the first time I watched NWA as a whole. So watching the pay-per-views back to back, I really enjoyed it.
And what are your thoughts on former WWE superstar and now NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, Trevor Murdoch? I'm so happy for this guy. I'm so excited to see what he can do, because the guy was very, very underrated. He had a great run with Jericho as Jericho's buddy, and a feud with Shawn Michaels. Absolutely fantastic. This guy's going to do very good things for that company, I believe.
Yeah, I really like the ending to the match and the celebration at the end. Everything was really nice and well done.
Yeah, and we got some comments already. We are live, pal. I'll figure out the whole thing. At least I'm not like Sid and asking to restart. We got Video Brothers Network saying War Report time. Nice to be spectating this round from Bobby. Bobby, we greatly appreciate you being here. You don't even remember the Jericho angle. So the Jericho angle, we'll get to this real quick, and then we'll move on to the actual NXT show, because there's actually a lot to talk about from this week's NXT. It was kind of stacked. It was the HBK Jericho angle that was where Jericho threw Shawn Michaels into the Jeritron 5000. It's the one where Jericho accidentally really punched Shawn Michaels' wife in the face and was terrified to go backstage. And that was Lance Cade. Thank you for reminding me. Whoopsies. Cade and Murdoch were a tag team. Mixed the two of them up after the tag team ended. Thank you, Dar Amazing, for reminding me. Still a great feud. Still go watch it. Lance Cade was great in that feud as Jericho's buddy. That being said, Trevor Murdoch's still amazing.
Yep.
That being said, NXT. Now, we don't have the new logos. We don't have the new graphics. Most of that, I believe, is because the show was probably taped before the graphics were released, and I assume we'll see those either next week or in the next few weeks as they get ready for a stage. But I'm excited to see a colorful, I was almost going to say Full Sail, because we had a long discussion about that the other day in the comments of one of the shows. But I'm very excited to see what the CWC looks like with all the color from that NXT logo.
Yeah. Let's see.
Sorry, I apologize. We move on to the beginning of this show. We have Mandy Rose returning, coming to NXT for the first time, I should say, as an in-ring competitor, and facing Saray. This was a really fun match. Saray gets a lot of offense in. Mandy Rose is so improved in the wrestling ring from where she started. Her work with Sonya Deville and all the stuff that they did was absolutely fantastic. That being said, this match was good. It wasn't given a ton of time. And it had an awkward finish that I had to watch a couple times, because Saray hits her with a knee and Mandy positions herself in the right spot, and Saray does that running drop kick that knocks people out of the ring, and it looked great. And Mandy falls fantastic. And then Gigi Dolan and JC Jane come over to her, and they're covering her up, and then they go and run and grab a towel, and cover up her face and run her off. It's an interesting angle. I was worried that there was blood, and that's what they were worried about. Doesn't seem to be. No part of that do I see blood when she hits the ground. I don't see anything leaking once they put the black towel to her face. I assume it's just an angle. That being said, I could be in for that. Mandy Rose is the type of person that you would think would have that kind of response. But what do you think?
Yeah, Mike, I really liked the match. It was like I guess like a regular over match. It did seem like it didn't have enough time though, so I want to see if they redo it later with more time. But yeah, just like you, I had to wait until the show was over to rewatch that part, because when I watched that, I just saw them with the towel, saw them running away, and I was so confused. I'm like, what happened here? What did I miss? So I had to go back and watch it, and I was really confused of why they used the towel to cover up her face. I'm like, there didn't seem like nothing went wrong with the angle, so I figured it's probably part of the storyline somehow. But what are they going to go with? I have no idea, because
I'm
that was
thinking,
clueless.
I'm thinking dashing Cody Rhodes. So I'm thinking maybe they gimmick the fact that she broke her nose. And that she's a Trish Stratus type angle, but she's just, but like with Cody, how he thought he was disfigured, and so he kept the gear on for months and months and months when it wasn't necessary. Like the Trish one was because she legitimately broke her nose.
Yeah,
they didn't want to take her off TV. Same with Sheamus. I think in this one, it's going to be the exact opposite. She's not hurt in any way, shape, or form, but they're going to say in her mind she's disfigured and broken, so she needs something to cover her face. Anything that gets these girls on my women on my television screen is going to be fantastic, because all three of them are super talented. Mandy Rose is getting better and better, and her leading a group of two young stars is going to be just what they need to give them the credibility that they need with this crowd going into it. Dara Amazing agrees with one of us. I'm assuming it with it being a disfigured gimmick and it being an angle. Because like I said, there was no blood visible, and the ref didn't stop the match. It was a count out. So I go with angle on that one. We then had Tommaso Ciampa cut a really good promo on Ridge Holland. Again, it's hard for Tommaso Ciampa to cut a bad promo. He basically talks about how Ridge Holland took out Thatcher and how he's angry because he has an empty chair sitting next to him, and he gets up and storms off where Thatcher would normally continue talking. Really good, really interesting. We then have Kyle O'Reilly versus, in my notes, apparently I wrote Fook Hudson. It should be Duke Hudson. But this is a really good match. Duke Hudson looked like a star in this match. Kyle O'Reilly really went out of his way to make Duke Hudson look fantastic. So much better than his match with Carmelo Hayes. It's a star-making performance for Duke Hudson, Brandon Vink, whatever you want to call him. What about you? What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I feel like they have more chemistry between them in this match, and I really wouldn't mind seeing this again, to be honest. I did like how they kept targeting each other in some way, because Hudson kept targeting Kyle's ribs, and then Kyle kept targeting him towards the end of the match when he won as well. And how he kept towards his knees because of the strikes that he had before. I was just surprised that he won by submission of all things, to have him tap at the end. I was just surprised about that. But other than that, really good match. Please do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this, start to be built last week, and I'm like, all right, fine, I guess I'll watch it. Having watched it, I'm like, I want to see it again. These two guys have great chemistry, but again, Kyle O'Reilly is, as I keep calling him, he's Lance Storm in the ring. Like, the dude is super talented, and he can have chemistry with pretty much anybody. So saying that he has chemistry with a guy and it's a great performance isn't much, to be, stated. That being said, to look that good in defeat, to really make Kyle O'Reilly look like he was in trouble. And I thought Duke Hudson was going to win this match a couple of times.
Me too.
I really bought into some of these near falls. The way they worked Kyle's ribs were fantastic. We have Sweden official asking if I like Zoltan. I don't know. No idea who that is. Cody says he was very impressed with Hudson on his character performance and facial expressions throughout. I agree. Duke Hudson really has it. He has something going for him. If they can continue this performance, this could be big things on the rise. And Video Brothers Network says Kyle O'Reilly is excellent. Not only does he make himself look incredible, he carries the opponents in a way that makes them get over as well. And that's such a key. That's like when people look at me and they go, wow, you're calling him Lance Storm? I'm like, yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments I can give somebody in the ring. Because in my mind, in-ring talent-wise, Lance Storm is in the top 5 of technical wrestlers in the world. If you want to have a good match and look good, you have a match with Lance Storm and you're going to do that. It's the reason why they trotted out during the Attitude Era. If they needed to get a good match out of you, you wrestled X-Pac. Because X-Pac was notorious in Vince's mind for being able to get good matches out of just about anybody. Sorry, nagging cough still won't go away. Cough drops are a pain. Next thing we had was an Ilya Dragunov promo. The new UK heavyweight champion of NXT came out, and he delivered a great promo. I really don't want to see him go. I'm sad that this is his last time on screen. It's going to make me watch a little bit more of NXT UK because this guy is a star. He is the Czar, apparently. He says the ring general is gone. It's now time for the Czar. So I'm very excited to see what he does over there. Did you have any thoughts on this promo in particular?
I really loved how the crowd was reacting to him, all the chants they gave him, like, you deserve it. I had to write it down because I was like, these were so fun. They went from you deserve it to please don't go. And I like how they kept chanting things to him through the whole promo. I usually don't see the crowd like saying much for promos lately. So that stood out to me, how they kept changing it somehow to fit what he was saying at the moment. And the way he's like, I wrote it down. He's like, I like it here. You will see me soon again. So I really like the way he said it as well.
I really hope we do. I wouldn't mind him having a short reign in NXT UK solely because I want to be greedy and have him back across in the States just to have him over here and watch him on week to week. Because if I could watch this guy over here week to week with some of the talent we have in WWE and NXT right now, like Dragunov versus Gargano, Dragunov versus Cole, Dragunov versus Joe. There are some fantastic matches. And Dragunov is the best. Go back and find his WXW. Absolutely. If anybody's not watching Progress in WXW, if you're going to spend some money on some British, European streaming services, WXW and Progress are fantastic for it. They get all kinds of super talented people, and Dragunov has killed it in WXW in Germany. They're amazing. I agree. I hope for good things from Dragunov. I really don't want to see him go. That being said, somebody I'm glad to see come from NXT UK and come over here is Kaylee Ray, or as I'm going to continue to call her, so I don't call her Kylie Ray, because I know I'm going to at some point if I have to keep saying her name. So KLR says she's here to boost the NXT women's division. She's interrupted in the guy. I tried to write his name down. I didn't, honestly. I couldn't even remember how to pronounce it. And of course, the one time they pronounced it was overcut by a huge crowd chant, so I couldn't even hear it.
No, I tried to get his name, but I was waiting for the nameplate to come up so I could write it down, and then I put it up. So I'm like, I don't like it.
They put it up at a weird spot as he was talking to Kaylee Ray.
I missed it.
That being said, Kaylee Ray runs down the women's division. She talks about a couple people in particular. She talks about Ember Moon, which we'll hear about a little bit later. She talks about Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. I love how she says Zoe Stark's nothing, and so that's why she's tagging with Io. Mm-hmm. And Io was so scared I was coming that she went ahead and ran away to the tag team division. Absolutely fantastic stuff from an amazing heel. That being said, she also calls out Raquel Gonzalez as the NXT Women's Champion. There's a bunch of matches we need to have in this division. She's a welcome addition from NXT UK. It was savage. Talking about how Io Shirai, this woman who will fight anybody, whose title reign was literally, I'll fight anybody. And she's like, yeah, she ran away to the tag team division. I mean, yeah. You can't say enough good things about Kaylee Ray. She looks like a star. She carries herself like a star. Even the accent, you can understand it, which is sometimes hard for some of those European accents. Some of them get lost in translation. Not here, which is fantastic. Did you notice anything about the promo that I might have missed?
No, I just like the part where she mentions Zoe. She goes, "Who is she?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm dead." But I like how she had something to say about each one of them, though. She was not quiet. I like that though, because she was like, you this, you that, like everybody got something, which I liked about it more than anything. And I like how she said at the end, I'm here to dominate the USA. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I used to watch, again, I will say it again, I used to watch WCPW, and I used to watch Kaylee Ray wrestling against Viper, which is Piper Niven, which is Dewdrop, and those matches are fantastic. So this woman can wrestle. If you haven't seen her, get ready. You're going to see some special stuff, and you're going to see it starting next week, as we'll talk about in a little bit. We then, again, on a very wrestling-heavy show, I thought, going in, very promo-heavy coming out, but all the promos worked. We had Carmelo Hayes, and again, going through with the thing of every promo setting up a match I have to see. We have Carmelo Hayes talking about his golden ticket from winning the breakout tournament. He's interrupted, and I almost didn't recognize who interrupted him. Like, who is this? Until I realized that it is Elektra Lopez, who is the new member of Legado del Fantasma. And she says that you talk about the North American title and you need to keep that out of your mouth. That's on reserve for Santos. And then LDF comes in not too far behind, and Raul and Mendoza are making their Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde are making their jokes. And Santos walks up in the coolest gangster coat I've ever seen. And he tells them all to just stop. Like, no. This is Carmelo Hayes. He's earned our respect. And he talks to him, and he's like, look, you want the North American title, that's fine. But guess what? Just because you won that breakout tournament, that title is on reserve for me, and you want nothing to do with me. So keep the title out of your mouth. I'm going to give you this one exemption, and then we're going to have issues. And Carmelo's like, all right, as they walk away. And I'm like, oh, God, I need to see this match. I mean, absolutely fantastic. What a way to make this dude feel like. We talked about how the breakout tournament didn't make anybody feel like a star. No, I don't think there were too many matches, but when we went in talking about NXT in the group chat, we talked about all the matches that were on the card, and when asked for a description by Zach of what is NXT going to be tonight, we said wrestling heavy, and we found out it was the exact opposite. It was a great 50-50 balance of a ton of good promos that all made sense and needed to be on the show, but were quick and to the point with some really great wrestling matches included. It was a really well-built show in that respect. Do you agree?
Yeah, I like the timing and how it was tonight. I thought it was going to be too much wrestling, and I was concerned about the timing, how it was going to feel through the match. I mean, through the whole show, but it was flowing so well. So I didn't even realize there was too many matches or too many promos, because it felt like it was well done in that balance there.
Yeah, like every promo felt like they belonged. They had a purpose. There wasn't a lot of... And anything that wasn't important was really quick. Like, we'll get to a couple things in a minute that were really quick that didn't do it. But before we get there, we get to a really fun moment of the show where we have Imperium taking on Drake Maverick and Grayson Waller making his NXT debut. No idea who he is. I didn't even bother looking him up yet. But the dude is talented. The dude is tall, too. Long legs. Very long legs in this dude. Even my mom noticed. She's like, he's got really long legs. And I'm like, does he? And I'm looking at him, and he's standing next to Bartel, and he's the same size as Marcel Bartel. I'm like, he's fine. And then I realized that his waist is like 6 inches higher than Bartel's. And I'm like, good God, he does have long legs. He's also a really arrogant git, as I'm going to use a British term because I've heard it a lot. And it's fun, and I can say it without getting in trouble. But it's nice to see Drake Maverick being the level-headed one, as they said on NXT tonight, where Waller comes out in the in-set promo and talks about his debut being the big thing in this match. And Drake's like, no, we have to take them seriously. They're former champions. No. They're tired and grumpy from carrying Walter's bags. Oh, if they had heard that promo, and God, I wish he had cut it in the ring while they were there, because I would have loved to have seen the squash match that would have followed after having heard that. Yes, we did have a Drake Maverick sighting. I do think this would be an interesting team for him. He wasn't brought out there instantly to lose. No, I still feel like we're getting into the habit of Drake Maverick's in the ring, he's going to lose. But it was a lot better this time because we saw he was with a developmental talent who needs some work, who needs a little bit of guidance, and it's a perfect team for them. And yes, they did say that, and it was an oh my goodness moment. I'm like, oh. That being said, it was a really fun squash match. It ends relatively quickly with the good guys not being able to get on the same page. They take Drake, they throw him outside the ring, they run him into the lighting rig, and then they hit the European bomb for the 3 count. What do you think about Imperium going forward? They've already lost a couple tag team title matches, so they're not really in the hunt for those titles. But where do they go next?
Yeah, I feel like this match made me realize how they're like what I call limbo, because they have feel like nothing going on without the title picture and Walter being there. So I'm like, they're clearly not going for the tag title. So what are they really doing at this point? I'm like, they're limbo for me, right? Which is kind of weird to say because I never thought I would even say that about Imperium, to be honest. So I'm like, I really don't know. Maybe soon enough after the title match next week, which obviously we're going to get to in a little bit, but maybe after that they do some kind of contenders match to include everybody because we have GYB and backstage as well. So I'm like, maybe we have some kind of match for a contenders match soon after that one. I don't know.
Yeah, and we have Bobby bringing in, the knowledge for us because Bobby is a well-scholared individual. Grayson Waller is Matty Wahlberg from Australia. I did see the Australian flag on his tights. I did notice that. He's known for his work as an arrogant school-like jock working at PWA's Black Label Pro, RCW, and MCW. So that's fantastic. So he basically is portraying a similar thing now. The arrogant, kind of cocky guy. I like it. He's going to be a good fit. He's not terrible in the ring. He's better than, going back to the breakout tournament, he's better than Odyssey Jones. He worked a really good match with some really talented guys. Now, is that guys making him look good, or is that him looking good? Time will tell. But it's a good start. He didn't make me want to turn my TV off, and that's something that's always good to know. Dara saying, thank you, nice to know. And Imperium will always be a gatekeeper team for right now. That's actually a good little spot for them. I hope they go back to NXT UK with Walter soon. No offense, I think the tag team division's kind of thriving right now. I think we could lose Imperium for a little while, have them go back there and make Imperium a big thing over there in NXT UK. Might be a fun idea too. We then move on to a quick series of promos like I talked about earlier. Real quick. We get Dunn & Co. cutting their standard promo, running down Joe, MSK, and Tommaso Ciampa as they get ready for tonight's main event. Standard promo. They sound great. They look great. I couldn't figure out how to spell McAfee Group, so I called them Dunn & Co. We then get a really quick, maybe 10 seconds of a backstage report, .com style, where we see Gigi Dolan and JC Jane leaving the locker room of Saray as they've attacked her backstage. Very nice to see that they're keeping up with this. It's developing a story. I like it. Not all stories have to be told in the ring. There was a lot of names for the McAfee Group. I called them the McAfee Group as a little thing just because I thought it was funny. For the brand is a McAfee phrase. So yes, they could be for the brand. I don't know if they have a collective name.
I haven't heard one.
They've never stated one. But I like the McAfee Group. I like Dunn & Co. It's just something stupid that I can just write really fast and I don't have to worry about. So we have those two things. Gigi and JC are looking great. They're formidable. They're being shown as a tag team in a tag team division. I mean, it's crazy, but it just might work. A women's tag team that feels like a tag team. Speaking of that, I'm going to skip to something because no, it's way further down than I thought it was. Never mind. We'll get to that in a minute. That being said, we have one of my favorite matches of the night. No offense to the main event. The main event was fantastic. It was brutal. It was delightful. It was exactly what it's supposed to be. My match of the night. We have Johnny Gargano and LA Knight. We had a backstage promo before this. I don't have it in my notes where Indy's telling Johnny to just give him a chance. And Johnny's like, fine. And he turns right around, right next to Loomis, just staring at him. And he just backs off and he goes, you need to stop that. Just once. Just don't do that. Oh, the moment he says something is going to be fantastic. Yes, Index definitely. Index wedding is coming. Everybody mark your calendars. 2 weeks from tonight, we're having the Index wedding. It will be glorious. I don't know if Astrid's going to be able to contain herself on that show. May have to have Astrid just talk for an hour and a half about Index wedding.
Sure.
That being said, this was a really, really fun match. Gargano and LA Knight work well together. It was hard for them to not be. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll flash the comment. I'll pull it off the screen. JPJ will be making announcements tomorrow on the War Report AEW edition, which will have some interesting ramifications for all shows War Report going forward. Just a little hint. It's a day after your birthday. Well, we'll make sure that if you let us remind us, because we're interesting people, but we're forgetful people. We will forget, but we'll try to remember that was your birthday the night before. LA Knight, I like a lot. Johnny's a great wrestler. His face never changes. He's like he got Botox spots to teach. And if we ever, I love Johnny Gargano. Yes, his facial expressions don't often change. I will wholeheartedly agree to that. That being said, even without changing his face, everything else about him is super entertaining, especially right now in this I'm a bad guy, but everybody loves me because I'm funny persona that he's running. This match was fantastic. It's two great pros just going at it. As I wrote, it's a great TV match. Dex, at one point, LA Knight knocks Johnny Gargano out of the ring, and Dexter catches him Indy Hartwell style. And he's just staring at him like a baby in his arms, and Gargano freaks out and jumps out. They get into a verbal argument, and LA Knight tries to run around the side of the ring to hit Gargano from behind. Loomis sees it coming and pushes Johnny Gargano to the ground to avoid it. LA Knight stops and goes, No, I don't want you. I don't want you. He starts to turn around. Johnny Gargano hits him with a super kick. Throws him in the ring. Gargano gets back in the ring. Dexter Loomis puts his hand up. At some point, somebody on commentary said he was going for a high five. He was very far away from the ring if a high five was what he's intending. That being said, it's very distracting for Johnny Gargano. And Johnny Gargano eats LA Knight's finisher, and LA Knight gets the win. This match did everything it needed to do. Absolutely everything. Gargano doesn't need to win. He can lose this match and look just as good, if not better, than when he went in. The match was a good TV match. It was 10, maybe 15 minutes, one commercial break. It felt like a full match even without the commercial break. If you take all that mid-break in, it still felt good. Cody says, I love the story of the Gargano match. Excellent story being told by all people. You're the resident Index expert. I will leave this with you. Most importantly, talk about Indy's reaction post-match, because she had a very interesting reaction to the loss by Johnny Gargano.
I actually love the little details with them. It's my favorite part about the Index storyline. Like you said, the part of Gargano getting carried by Dexter, or like when they enter the ring, how Indy and Dexter enter crawling at the same time. And I think before this, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it happened, I think I missed it, when Beth was giving Wade Barrett the t-shirt and he just throws it out as well. Things like that.
It's going to go into my wardrobe and he throws it into the crowd.
And the way Indy was looking at Dexter through the match, just like staring at him while he's looking at the ring. Little things like that is what I like about them, because they make it look different to me compared to most people, because they do those details like that. I did miss the ending, so you tell me about her reaction, because I totally missed that part.
So after the match, Indy is dumbfounded, not sure what to do. She's staring at Loomis like, oh God, what's gone wrong? Because she knows Loomis just cost him the match. And Loomis is still just standing there, hand over his head, like waiting for whatever was supposed to happen. And Indy is just looking at Johnny and then looking at Dexter, because she wants everybody to get along, because she knows the wedding's coming and she knows Gargano's going to make a mess of it. I think it's going to be Austin Theory that makes the mess of this. I'm very excited for all of that to come. But Darren Amazing mentioned something, and it is something I caught too. He did a really, and as he says, a weird over-the-shoulder move. He caught him on the shoulder as a pop-up type of move. and it looked like he was going to hit like a power slam or something like that. And he took Gargano and he just kind of flipped him backwards. And Gargano lands on his back after being on his shoulder. It's a very interesting move. I'm not sure what he calls it. He did just kind of throw him up in the air, but Gargano landed on his back. It's a back bump as opposed to landing on his stomach like you think it would be like for similar to a big ending. It was a completely safe move. You could tell that Gargano was completely in control of himself. It's fine. It does look a little awkward. I've not remembered seeing it before, but it could very well be part of his arsenal. We're also doing Johnny walk Indy down the aisle, right? Yeah, I do expect Johnny to walk her down the aisle. I don't know if he's going to be happy about it, but I think he will. This wedding is going to be fantastic. But again, we will get to the wedding when we get to it, because it's going to be probably half of our show next week as we get closer to the wedding.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody has seen her tweets lately. She's been tweeting pictures of the WWE wedding. It's been so funny to like see people in the comments be like, "I don't remember this happening," or like the Oksana Goldust one. I thought that was interesting because I don't feel like a lot of people remember this, and then I can see it in the comments. And now I saw that she did Elizabeth and Randy's as well, because I missed that one. But I saw especially the AJ Daniel one, and the Oksana one's the one, and Goldust. The reactions from people are just priceless, to be honest.
Goldust and Oksana was an interesting time where NXT was still a version of the game show. It was still kind of a version of that at that point. Oksana was an interesting character, we'll say the least. She wasn't ultra talented in the ring. She was a very beautiful woman. She helped Cesaro get off the ground when Cesaro first started in the company. It's an interesting one. Yeah. It's going to be great. The Index wedding is going to be fantastic. We then get MSK, and they make the same comment that Gargano made when he was talking to The Way at one point when they were going to knock on the door, and he's no, knock on the door. He likes it when people knock on the door. I love how MSK has picked it up too, because they're just as goofy as Johnny with The Way. They make sure to tell each other to make sure that they knock, because William Regal likes that. They go in and they basically demand that they get to fight Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, saying, "Look, we're fighting champions. They never lost their titles. Their titles were stripped from them when Danny Burch got hurt. We've never beat them for the titles, so until we do, we're not the real champions." Basically underpinning the exact point that Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan have had. So next week, we're going to get a tag team title match. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see. I honestly don't care who wins. Because as long as whoever wins takes on GYV, because I will continue to say it till I'm blue in the face, GYV needs to challenge for these titles soon, because these guys are over, and we'll see that shortly. That being said, we got a really, really surprising announcement after that in a very quick segment where Boa is speaking. And again, I like Boa speaking in Chinese. I like it. I think it's great, because I think he sounds a lot better speaking Chinese and using subtitles to get his point across than having to try to speak English. That being said, we are going to finally see Mei Ying in the ring. She will be competing next week. I'm assuming it's going to be a squash match. I don't care. We're going to see what kind of attire they have her dressed in for a wrestling match. And hopefully, based on a wrestling match, we might get a wrestling style to figure out who is Mei Ying, because we still don't know. And if the internet's found out, I haven't seen it. That being said, Regal saying he was going to strip Danny Burch's title shot and then changed their mind because of MSK. I do agree. That was a fun match. He was thinking about taking away Burch and, as he corrects himself, Burch and Lorcan's title match because of what they did to Ciampa and Thatcher. But MSK's like, no, they're the former champions. They need to have their shot. Thoughts on Mei Ying being in the ring?
I've been waiting for it. I'm just like you said, I've been trying to see online, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody post who she is, which is the part that has me the most curious about it at all. And who's going to be her opponent? Because with the way the women's division is happening, I'm like, who is it going to be? Because it's probably going to be a squash match, like you said, so it can't be just anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be somebody nondescript that we've seen before in an enhancement style match. It'll be a squash match. She'll look fantastic. Yes, they do. I love MLW for that. They let people who don't natively speak English speak in their own tongues for pre-tape promos. The problem with WWE is they don't do a lot of pre-tape promos, with the exception of NXT. So they don't get the opportunity very often to do these backstage pre-tape promos where they allow somebody like Asuka who could get over a whole lot more with her speaking ability if she was speaking behind the scenes. Yes, I figured it was available on Google, but Google may not be right. Google may think they know, but I don't know if we do know. I don't want the spoiler yet. I may check it out going into next week's show, but not right now. Thank you for that. It gives me some place to look if I need to. But yes, MLW does a fantastic job of that with some of their mostly their Latin competitors. They have a very large group of Latin competitors over there that do a very fantastic job. We then get, speaking of squash matches, Jessie Kamea versus Raquel Gonzalez. And I could care less about the match. I honestly fast-forwarded the entire match. I was a little bit behind on my NXT this week because I went out to dinner before NXT started, and I needed a place to catch up, and this is the place I chose to catch up. That being said, there was one thing I noticed, and it's the reason why I catched up. Did you happen to listen to the introduction for Raquel Gonzalez?
I don't think I remember it, to be honest.
They piped in what might as well have been a WrestleMania crowd noise for Raquel Gonzalez coming out to a CWC crowd.
Nope.
My notes read, "Oh God, the piped in cheers. Oh God." Raquel Gonzalez wins this match, as she should. Jessie Kamea is a fine competitor. She looks great in matches. I'm sure she had a relatively great effort here. She's not a bad wrestler. She's fine. She's not at the top of this women's division. It does her no harm to lose in a quick match to the women's champion. It's what should happen. And it's setting up Raquel Gonzalez versus Frankie Monet. They have their standoff after the match. Your thoughts on Raquel versus Frankie?
I like how she was really aggressive to begin with, like right away. Like she was taking that aggressiveness that she had from everything Dakota and taking it out on Jessie. That's what it seemed like to me. And she was really quick about it as well. I feel like she's not that she's slow, but she's like it's slower than what she was tonight, at least of how I see it. I did like one part that Jessie does like a split to like avoid Raquel, and Raquel goes over her because of the split. I thought that was really well done the way she played it out. And I like how I believe it was Beth that pointed out. She said Raquel has had to go to a different wheelhouse because of the way Jessie's wrestling with her. And I like how she pointed that out because she had to change her demeanor in the wrestling because of Jessie's moves. And like you said, I like at the end how even when she won, she didn't take her eyes off of Frankie, and Frankie being in the ring with her. Because I feel like usually it doesn't happen with having like heels go face to face like that. Usually they stay out or they run away. So I really like how they had that face up and they wouldn't stop looking at each other either.
Yeah, Frankie Monet is definitely able to put herself off as a heel without having to be the cowardly heel that runs away. She can stand her ground. She's La Güera Loca. She's absolutely fantastic. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah,
I've heard her say it. I've heard her say it a ton because she's one of my favorite female wrestlers in wrestling right now. Her work in Impact was flawless. I mean, Johnny Swinger and her are. If you haven't seen Wrestle House from the pandemic era of Impact, spend 99 cents, go into their backlog, and watch Wrestle House. It is absolutely the dumbest, funniest stuff you'll ever see on a wrestling show. Again, we're putting over NXT. God, I gotta remember we gotta put over NXT on these shows. This is about the halfway point in the show. It's about the halfway, 3/4 point at this point. I think we're at about 9:15. We get Ember Moon backstage on her birthday. Happy birthday, Ember. Congratulations on making another year around the sun. Congratulations on still being employed because your tag team partner went to SmackDown without you. That being said, we didn't forget about you in NXT anymore. They brought you back up because Kaylee Ray had cut your promo on you. It's a really cool promo where she's like, look, I was fine letting Kaylee Ray talk all the crap she wants, but then she keeps putting my name in her mouth, and I'm going to put a stop to this. And so basically she responds, I'm excited to see this. This match happens next week. It's going to be fantastic. There's not a whole lot you can say about, again, maybe a minute long package. It's just nice to see Ember back on TV. Yeah. And it's just nice to get that ball rolling on that match. Also, apparently, a happy birthday to Jeff Hardy as well. Jeff Hardy's not welcomed in the NXT community because of him, Karrion Kross got bad mojo in his booking, and now he looks like a fourth member of a bad porn version of Demolition. I mean, you've seen the outfit, right? It's like a bad porn version of Demolition. It's not good. That being said, we get a Samoa Joe interview. And you talked about how you had to go back and relook at something. During Powerrrout, I did go back and I got word for word not word for word, but for the most part, I got the beginning of his promo. And I'm going to read it out because I think it's an interesting line that he's taken, where this is where the new NXT, I think, is coming. And I like how it's reflecting a very specific portion of the past. His promo is, "My expectations are what people will see as somewhat unexpected. They think it would be domination of the competition and terrorizing my opponents. This is true, but my true expectations lie in reestablishing the precedent." He keeps using the word precedent. And I like that because the entire promo is built around one word. And that word being repeated over and over. I want to make sure that he basically goes on to talk about in what it means to be the NXT champion and what it means to be the standard bearer. A man who walks forward and represents himself in the utmost fashion in all aspects of what we do. This began well before I captured the NXT championship. He then talks about fight week like it's an MMA fight. I'm going to skip that part because it's kind of blasé. But he gets to this. It was the week before it started. During that week, I did the tryouts in Las Vegas to find the next NXT star. Then I was doing things for SummerSlam. I then took a red-eye flight for TakeOver, no sleep, jet-lagged, dying to see my family, but my precedent brought me here. The mission needed to be accomplished. I needed to capture the NXT championship because the precedent needed to be set. Wade Barrett then asks him about this being his third reign and what he thinks about that. And again, he keeps mentioning the word precedent, but in all NXT champions, he picks out two champions to single out. And it's the two remaining WWE contracted multi-time NXT champions. And it's Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura are the only two he mentions when he talks about setting this precedent, which I think is interesting. Because I think if this promo had been cut a while back and he was talking about the precedent, he could have talked about guys like Kevin Owens, but he's a one-time champion. Sami Zayn, but he's a one-time champion. And then you think of probably the guy who we would have mentioned, but is no longer there, Adam Cole, baby, was missing from that one. And he's the only other multi-time NXT champion who I thought might have gotten a mention here, but because of the contract situation and nobody knowing where he's going, he didn't mention it. This was a really, I sorry to take up so much time, but I really loved that promo and I wanted to read as much of it as I could because like he says, this interview with Joe was so well done. Really happy to see this take on a champion. And I agree. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe it was Wade when he was on commentary after the interview ended, he said, Joe is setting the standard, and that stood out to me a lot. I had to write it down in the notes. I was like, yes, he is. He's setting the standard for what's going on in the future of NXT, and that's what he's telling us with this promo. And not only that, but I noticed the same thing you did. I was like, of all the champions we've had in NXT, and we had so many great champions, he only mentioned two, and I thought that was super interesting. I'm like, yeah, I thought of Cole from the beginning. I'm like, Cole would have gotten a great mention here, but I've gotten a great reaction from the crowd when his name brought up too. But obviously, they didn't bring it up for a reason. They knew what they were doing, but they didn't bring up his name in here, unfortunately. It just, to me, it's kind of upsetting or bittersweet, I guess, to think, because of the contract situation, his name is kind of getting erased for what he did. It's what it always seems like to me when somebody leaves WWE this way or NXT. And it's just bittersweet to think, everything Cole has accomplished, it just feels like nothing at this point because they're not going to mention him whatsoever because of the contract.
Yeah. And I agree. I think it's a shame that they're doing this, but I think right now nobody knows what's going on in WWE. I think he might get mentions later on once things get settled down and he either finds a home or doesn't find a home. Because NXT doesn't typically care if they mention talent who are on other shows. But I think it's the fact that they don't know what's going on next And if he's going somewhere, he's probably going to the main roster. So don't mention him unless they need to. But again, for a quick promo segment with the champion, this felt big. It felt important. It feels like the NXT championship is important again. I'm probably going to get in trouble for it, but I'm going to remind us now because I forgot about it all this whole show. Our sponsors are RK Athletics. I'm sure Zach did it during Powerrrout. I'll do a quick rehit on it now. RK Athletics 1 on all social medias. Find out what Rich King is doing. There might be some fun wrestling things coming up in the future with that. They are fantastic people. Work with them if you can. If you need a workout, I do believe they're still doing video workouts, but I know if you're in the area, I think it's the Edmonton, Alberta area for RK Athletics, you can definitely find them there. I'll put this on because I haven't put that on the whole show. But again, it's okay. Nobody's going to notice, right? I got flustered. It's okay. We then have Ikemen Jiro cutting a promo talking about how Kushida's basically his idol. And which is nice. And he's like, I took the challenge with Roderick Strong because of that. And I'm going to beat Roderick Strong just like Kushida's going to. And then Ikemen Jiro comes out and wrestles Roderick Strong and does a really good job at making Roderick Strong look fantastic. Ikemen Jiro is going to be great. He would have fit really well. I saw this tweet on Twitter, and I want to say I'm going to give it to Brian Alvarez, but I could be wrong. But somebody mentioned that he would have looked really, really great in the era of 205 Live when you had guys like Murphy and Ali and Cedric Alexander. And I wholeheartedly agree. I really think he would have done well in that really hot 205 Live era. I think we forgot it on Powerrrout, so thank you, RK Athletics, for the power. We all forgot RK Athletics today, but don't you forget about RK Athletics because they are fantastic people. Why does Jiro wrestle in a jacket? Have I missed him explaining this? No, he's never explained it to my knowledge. It's probably part of his gimmick. It's silly, and I love it. It makes him special. It makes him interesting. The guy's an uber talented guy. Love him to death. He's a great little, and I'm going to say it. He's a great hand, and he's an enhancement talent right now. Could they do great things with him in the future? Absolutely. But the cruiserweight division right now is pretty jam-packed. We've got Kushida and Strong at the top, and you've got a handful of guys, depending on how you want to look at where Carmelo Hayes is going to fall in. But you got people like Blake Christian, Trey Baxter. Trey Baxter. Got to remember these WWE names. You got guys like Trey Baxter. And more importantly, the 205 Live crew is going to be getting larger and larger because they're not limiting it to 205 Live anymore. So they're going to need a new name for that show. But again, what did you think of? Do you have any real thoughts on Roderick Strong beating and pushing himself towards Kushida?
No, I really like the match because like you said, it made Roddy look good. I did like how Malkin turns around and he looks like the guy's like, this is how it should be kind of thing. Like, look over in the ring. This is how it should be, how Roddy's doing it. And that's why with the steel steps, I don't know why I really like the way they did it and the way he sold it as well. But yeah, obviously we expected Roddy to win. So I'm like, but I like how they made him to look good in the match though.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job of making Jiro look good. The new Diamond Mine honestly looks a little bit better than with Tyler Rust. I like Tyler Rust. I thought he was a really good guy. He seemed like he was going to be destined for big things. That being said, apparently it's the Creed brothers. I thought it was the Green brothers. It's the Creed brothers. Whomever they are, they look intense. These dudes don't say nothing. They just stand there. And like he says, the Diamond Mine duos look great. Solid heaters, great new T-shirts, and I wholeheartedly agree. There's one thing WWE knows how to do. It's make a really good T-shirt. I mean, they're not as good as the T-shirt company on Wednesday nights. I mean, AEW, but come on, I'm going to take one little jab. But, you know, I mean, AEW makes fantastic shirts. They do. They pump them out quicker than they can put people in the ring. I mean, they
PWT.
Really, yeah, PWT's, I mean, it's fantastic. Those Diamond Mine shirts do need an RK Athletics logo. If there's not a new RK Athletics logo on a Love Wrestling t-shirt now, I'm going to be upset. That sounds like something fun. That being said, we now get to the segment that I wanted to put in earlier, but I forgot it was way down here. But first, we're going to get to a question from Dar Amazing. He says, if you were to rename 205 Live, what would it be? I'm going to go with this. The Wrestling Hour. It sounds stupid, but I mean,
the point.
it's to the point. Because it's the only hour on television where they don't do almost any promos and they just show a match. Right now, it's not even an hour. I honestly think it's like a match or two, and then it's over in like 25 minutes, to be perfectly honest with you. That being said, most people don't know it exists, let alone that it's going to be getting probably rebranded into something else. NXT 60 would be cool. NXT Open Weight. Maybe no pips, just fists. They do own that trademark, much to the chagrin of another tag team. And WWE, that's not a bad idea. I like that. Thank you. WWE Energy. Astrid, do you have any ideas or any of those that you co-sign?
No, I'm terrible with names, but I like the WWE Energy one though.
Yeah, WWE Energy. We'll put it in there and see if they can give us a little kickback on that one. We then get, and again, it's the segment I kind of want to blow over because it again continues to make me hate Zoe Stark even more. You have Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter standing on one side, Mackenzie and Mitchell in the middle, with Io Shirai, who looks like she wants to be anywhere but cutting a promo, next to Zoe Stark, who is excited to be there. Not sure why. For those of you who haven't seen the wonderful and amazing matches, segments on the War Report featuring me and Astrid basically bad-mouthing Zoe Stark for being put in this horrible, horrible position. We don't like the Zoe Stark-Io Shirai combo for no other reason than it makes Zoe Stark look like the biggest heel in the world. For no real reason. They're trying to make her a babyface, and all I see is heel. That being said, we have Casey and Casey talking about how they're a tag team. They're friends. And I literally have, my entire thing is, women's tag title interview segment, ... friends versus Io, and I have a smiley face and crying with laughter emoji. Because honestly, at one point, Zoe Stark tries to talk, and they cut her off, and Io's just like, no, I don't like you, but you're my teammate, so I have to work with you, so we will. And I'm just like, oh God, Io wants to be anywhere but here. Honestly, she'd be better on Raw losing than being in this tag team. It makes her look bad just being in the tag team. I might be wrong, and I'll take all the blame if I am. But Zoe Stark is zapping all of the wonderfulness that is Io Shirai out of Io Shirai. I agree. Team KC has done a fantastic job of being brought in the right way. She wasn't mega pushed right off the bat. They gave her a couple of opportunities. They put her in a spot that she'd excel in, which is the Kofi spots in the Women's Royal Rumbles, which is a great spot for her because as a Ninja Warrior, she's able to do that kind of stuff. Casey should have an obstacle course to complete when she comes down the aisle. I think that'd be fantastic. She's really likable. She really, really is. She's fantastic. It's Zoe Stark that we really don't like. I mean, do you have anything nice to say about, one, this promo package, or two, Zoe Stark at all?
No, my Io looks so uncomfortable whenever she's doing these segments. It kills me to see her doing this. She could be doing so much more than this. I'm like, why make her do this instead of making her like wrestle like most girls? Even if she doesn't have to be with the title involved, we love other, the women's segments without a title involved. You could have done that, but why have her be in this when you can tell she doesn't want to be here? And I'm like,
we found one good thing about Zoe Stark.
That's it.
Was it cool? Zoe Stark in the ring isn't a bad thing. Like this is not rag on Zoe Stark for being a bad performer. She's fantastic in the ring. I liked her all the way up until they put her in this tag team. They won the titles. I'm like, oh, that's cool. This will be interesting because they've done the whole tag team partners who can't get along gimmick, but they've never really done it in NXT. So I thought, maybe that'll be interesting, so, but no, they went and they tried to do, this all stems from one segment, by the way. We're going to rehash this whole thing. We got a little bit of time. We're going to rehash this whole thing. This stems from one segment, one entire segment, where Io Shirai is telling Zoe Stark that they're not friends and that she doesn't want to be a friend. So Zoe Stark says, I know how to make Io Shirai feel comfortable. I'll take her to a Japanese restaurant. So they go to a sushi restaurant, and Zoe is talking to Io, and Io decides to talk to the waitress. And she orders it entirely in Japanese, which is fine because it's a sushi restaurant, and apparently the waitress speaks Japanese. Great. So Zoe Stark, not knowing anything that Io Shirai has said, but wanting to be her friend, says, I'll have what she's having. To which Io gives her an evil eye and laughs, and they continue with their meal. Zoe Stark then pretends to not know what wasabi looks like and tries to eat, whole things of wasabi. And then when she doesn't like what she's been fed, she takes it and chucks it over her shoulder like a 2-year-old child in a restaurant. And the food's slowly slides down the wall. Typical, it's just awful and cringy. And the word I always use with these segments is cringy. And it gets worse because Io goes and says, all right, you pay the bill, and walks away. And Zoe Stark says, oh, are you and Io friends? Because they were talking. And she's like, no, we just understand each other. And she's like, oh, because you speak Japanese. She's like, no, I'm from Missouri, or something like that. And it's just, so cringy in such a weird way. But more importantly, it just makes Zoe look like a heel. I mean, am I describing this poorly?
No, just another thing that we have about it is for example, for us watching NXT, we had LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, which is people that don't get along, but they had so much chemistry going on. We had Dexter, Index, and the whole Gargano on the way. Is people that they're not supposed to be together, but they have chemistry when they do it. And, it's done really well. So it makes me wonder what failed with this one, because they've done it before. So how come this is the only one that didn't work out? I'm the people that are doing it are talented. Don't get me wrong. Both of the ladies are talented. Just together, they don't mix. Yeah. And I'm why would you make them or have them win the tag team titles when it will go like this? You can tell that they had no direction for them at the beginning, and that's why they started doing these segments and try to get them to show us, oh, we're a team. And it didn't work out. So just I hope so much that Casey and Kaden win next week, please, because I need this change already. I'm they haven't even defended the titles since they won them. I'm I don't remember seeing them defending them. Only winning them.
It was mentioned in the promo by Mackenzie Mitchell. This is their first title defense of the titles since they won them a month and a half ago.
Yeah, it feels like ages ago. It feels more than a month ago at this point with the way they have the promos going on. I like how Casey and Kaden, they're like, see, she's my best friend. This comes naturally to us. And then I like how Zoe goes, I'll take a bullet for Io. And Io just It just not even responded to her.
And Team KC was like, that seems like a little much. I love how they're both piping. They're like, that's too much, back down.
It just makes me wonder who wrote this, because these segments with them have been terrible. I'm and they try to play it off that this is funny. It's not funny.
See, you know what I can see? I can see Jeremy Borash writing this. I could totally, because he's super creative, and I feel like he thinks that this would get over. And I think with any other two competitors, it probably would have. Think about this. If we were seeing this with Indy Hartwell and Dexter Loomis, it would be fantastic. Or even better yet, if this was Drake Maverick and Killian Dane when Killian Dane was still here, that would have been absolutely brilliant to have segments like this. Because they had a lot of cool things where Drake Maverick tries to give them funny music and Killian Dane's like, I don't like you. There's so many opportunities where they've done this and done it well, and this one just really hasn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, WWE does have that convenient rule that pops up when they need to.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly for the 30-day thing, I mean, in NXT, they don't typically use it because typically if somebody gets stripped of the title, it's because they get hurt. They don't often defend their titles within 30 days for NXT. And I don't have a problem with them not defending the titles. It's because it's a women's tag division. They don't have a women's tag division right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's oddball teams. It's oil and water. These two it didn't work. It was a good idea. It was a great try. They're two talented wrestlers. It didn't work. Thank God. Hopefully they lose next week and we can move on from it. Getting on to something fantastic, we have Cameron Grimes backstage. No longer with his $1 million championship because Ted DiBiase, that evil Ted DiBiase, tricked him and gave him a replica belt, which comes back in this promo package, by the way, which I thought was great because he's doing all his shtick and then GYV comes up and they have their own replica $1 million championship. And Gibson says, look, I'm the $1 million champion now, right? Yes, as Dare Amazing says, that damn Ted DiBiase. And they're making fun of Grimes, and he's laughing along with it, thinking it's hysterical. And they're like, no, you could be the North American champion next week, or the NXT champion, or even better yet, you could be the Universal champion. And by the way, Cameron Grimes versus Roman Reigns, I kind of now want to see that match. I really kind of want to see it now, because I think that would be great with this Roman Reigns and a promo battle with this Cameron Grimes. Oh, it'd be fantastic. I'm not sure if Virgil still has a replica. He might have one of the original replica belts. I'm sure he does. Him and Ted seem to have been such good friends over the years. It might have been Virgil's version of the $1 million belt that they were using. You would think, but they haven't announced it, but I'm going to guess it's going to be one of the things we hear about for next week in their standard Tuesday. Hey, this is what's on the show tonight. 5-pack of images. It could be James Drake, but I think it's going to be Gibson because Gibson's the one who typically does the wrestling in the group. But it's fantastic. He then takes that belt. He's like, oh, it feels heavier than the one I had. And he throws it on the ground. And it sounds like he throws like a 10-pound weight on the floor. And Gibson comes up, bang, like he banged his shoe on it. Oh, it was fantastic. I love GYV. Mwah! Get these guys tag team titles. They need it. They need it. They need it. Oh, GYV is fantastic. Would you like to say anything wonderful about Cameron Grimes? I'm sorry. I keep gushing over everything.
It's just so funny because I didn't like him at first, and he's growing on me ever since all the stuff one night. So I'm like, I'm still not 100% like, I don't love him, but I'm going to liking him a lot. And it obviously has to do with the character development he's had in the past couple of weeks. So let's see what he does next week with one of them.
The redneck millionaire gimmick has totally made him a believable babyface. I never thought it would be possible because he's such a great heel. Cody, when we get a chance to talk on a stream, potentially, next Wednesday maybe, I want to ask you about this thing. I've heard it. I've seen it at shows. I need to know where it started because I asked a British wrestling fan and they don't know. So I'm wondering if you know where that thing started. But yes, shoes off for Gibson. Have you heard of this before?
I haven't, to be honest.
Okay. So at some point, somebody started to chant, and they started holding their shoes in their hand when Zak Gibson would come to the ring, because he's Liverpool's number one. And he's fantastic, and he's a great heel. But it started to catch on, and now, if you look really closely, really smart crowds, this typically happened at takeovers and things like that, or any show in the UK. If you watch the crowd when they come out, there's a handful of people that have their shoes in their hands in the air because it's shoes off for Gibson.
Because when I saw that, it made me think of the one with Pete Dunne, how a lot of people started taking their shoes off and giving them to Pete Dunne during matches in the Indies. Mm-hmm. That's what made me think about it.
Yep, no idea where it started from, but it is fantastic. Cameron Grimes does everything well. His ring work is great. He can pull off goofy material as needed. The goofy stuff may not be my cup of tea, but there's a lot of talent in Grimes. I wholeheartedly agree. I think there's a lot of room for goofy in wrestling, especially if it can be pulled off properly. I go back to Johnny Gargano, Indy Hartwell, Austin Theory, Cameron Grimes have really done a good job with being able to pull off that goofy gimmick and making it, because I agree with the goofy. Goofy doesn't make money because you're not going to sell a card on being goofy. But Kurt Angle did a really good job of riding the line between being goofy on screen and then as soon as he got in the ring, he was a badass. Thatcher and Ciampa took it, but I know that it was going on before any of them were in NXT. I can wholeheartedly contend to you that I know This was going on in British wrestling before NXT, even before NXT UK started. I know that was happening. And it might be shoes off if you hate Gibson. That might be the missing piece that I've always missed. And if that's the case, then it makes a whole lot more sense then.
Yeah.
Again, we've really lost... I've lost the way with the important things on the show versus the unimportant things. We have about 10 minutes left for the 2 hours, which is basically what we normally do on these shows. So we're going to get it back on track, and we're going to talk about the main event. Ridge Holland versus Tommaso Ciampa in the main event. I was surprised by this, mostly because of the finish, because I didn't think it was going to go this way, but I'm happy it did. But Ridge Holland looked like a star throughout this match. Tommaso Ciampa is one of the most giving guys in wrestling. It's hard to believe a guy's beating the hell out of you and still making you look good in a match. But if it is possible, it's Tommaso Ciampa. But talk about Ridge Holland and how well he worked in this match.
I feel like this reminded me also of the Kyle O'Reilly Hudson match at the beginning, how it made me like think Hudson's gonna win this, and all of a sudden Kyle wins, but they both look good while they're doing it. That's how it made me think when I first saw it. And I don't know if you want to call it a pounce, but he just hit like that pounce on Tommaso that looked nasty, and I'm like, I love this already. But yeah, I like the match on the ending. I like having MSK coming in. I just expected them to be running in to help Ciampa, not walking the way they did. I'm like, why are you going so slow? They're about to beat him up. Move. But yeah, it just reminded me of that match because I feel like Tommaso doesn't need to look good, but he ended up looking good anyway, and so did Holland at the same time.
Yeah, and if you want to become famous, there's no way you can do it on this stream. But, you know, always I love trolling the troll things that automatically come in that I can't do anything about because I don't have moderator privileges for the show. But that being said, yeah, I agree. This was a great little match. I love how as soon as Tommaso Ciampa won the match, which again was a surprise, I thought Holland would win. But you can look really good in defeat, and I think NXT's the main marker of we don't need to have the guys we need to have win every time to make our guys look good. Holland looked fantastic in this match, and he got beat by a better competitor on one night. Dunn & Co. comes in and beats it, like you said, beats them up. MSK slowly walks to the ring and is confronted by Birch and Lorcan, who get beat up, and then they slide in the ring to stop Holland and Pete Dunne from beating up Tommaso Ciampa further, and the show goes off the air like that. A really good 2 hours of NXT. Lots of really good matches. Some really interesting promo packages setting up some really interesting stuff. This week took off from last week in the way we thought it would, where we talked about that Samoa Joe promo in the ring and how it started so many little things, so many little feuds. And it really has. Because of that segment, we got Duke Hudson versus Kyle O'Reilly. Because of that segment, we got Johnny Gargano versus LA Knight. We got Tommaso Ciampa versus Ridge Holland, which we're going to get either way, but it was still all included in that one segment. Mm-hmm. So 3 matches on this show were all part of that story about the NXT title and making it relevant and making it important again. NXT is doing a really good job. We're 2 weeks out from knowing that there's going to be changes. Next week is the first week where we could potentially see some of those changes. I'm excited to see all of the visual changes. I'm less excited to see what's going to happen to the product going forward. That is right, Cody. I'm not going to say it because then I have to sing it because they weren't on the show tonight. Oh, screw it. I'll do it anyways. We didn't have any hit row. Yeah, we didn't have any hit row tonight. But honestly, I didn't feel like we missed it because we had the Santos Escobar segment talking about Swerve, and we had Carmelo Hayes. And a couple of things I forgot about that Carmelo Hayes promo. I liked how when will Swerve defend his belt? Probably soon, probably against Santos Escobar, and he'll probably end up in a triple threat match at some point with Carmelo Hayes. Swerve was making really cool inside jokes about all the different champions. I might swerve you and go for the the North American title. He had something funny for the Cruiserweight title.
Sorry, it was Carmelo that did it.
Isn't that what I said? Or did I say Santos?
No, you said Swerve did it.
Oh, did I say Swerve did it? I mean, Swerve could probably have done it too, but yes, it was Carmelo Hayes who did say all that. But it's it's interesting that Carmelo Hayes is setting himself up to potentially not go for the main title, and I don't feel like it's a bad decision, because if he puts himself in that North American title picture, like, oh my God, if we can get that three-way, like, I'm all for that three-way of Santos Escobar versus Carmelo Hayes versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. And he's like, Cody, direct competition with me on that one, goes, I hope it's not a triple threat. I prefer separate singles matches and separate feuds. I agree. Honestly, I would prefer them as different feuds, but I don't want to continue pushing. If we're ending up in the War Games cage like I think we're going to, I think a couple triple threats and a couple moving Carmelo Hayes into this spot to bring the North American title out of that feud going into War Games might not be a bad idea. Because if we're going to do the mixed tag War Games, where we have LDF versus Hit Row, which I think is where we're headed, unless we're doing Dunn & Co. inside War Games, in which case it would be Samoa Joe, Tommaso Ciampa, and MSK versus Dunn & Co., which I'm less excited about, to be honest. I mean, we can't put Undisputed Era in there again, so we have to find something new, because Adam Cole's not there, Bobby Fish is not there, Roderick Strong's not talking to Kyle O'Reilly, and we have Cody saying War Games has been an Undisputed Era thing since it was brought back. I'd like them to take a year off from it. I think it's been ironic that it's kind of coincided with each other. I don't think it was ever intended to be an Undisputed Era type match. I think it just so happened that they were a 4-man faction, that they could always just put 4 guys up against you and call it, or 3 guys in one case where they had 3 teams of 3. Back on track, getting back on track. Next week, we have MSK versus Larkin and Birch for the titles. Moon versus Kaylee Ray, and Io and Stark versus KC and KC. It's going to be another cool show next week, and that's what we got now going into the show. We're going to get more as the week goes on. What are your thoughts on NXT and even the logo? Because I don't know if everybody's heard about the new NXT logo.
It's colorful, let's say. No, just like, I'm curious to see how they'll play it on at ringside, because obviously it all usually matches the logo, so I want to see how that looks like, especially how the CWC is going to look like as a whole with the new set, I suppose, because it has to match the new logo as well. Because I'm like, it's just weird seeing the ringside being all colorful, but we'll see how they play it out. But I'm really excited for next week, because like you said, we have the tag team title match, we have the women's tag team title match, we also have the Mei Ying debut, and then Ember and KLR as well. And who knows what else will throw our way. So
yeah, I was going to say, I just don't want to interrupt you, but Carmelo versus Santos wasn't announced by them at the end of the show when they were running over what next week card is. It very well could end up on the show next week, but they do that rundown right before the main event where they talk about what's coming up next week. It wasn't mentioned in that segment, so I didn't put it on this list. But, I mean, they're building to that match. It could just be a slow burn with Carmelo just kind of wandering around a whole bunch of feuds. You could probably see him next week in a match with Roderick Strong, looking as Roderick Strong waits for Kushida to be healthy, because he did mention Kushida in the Cruiserweight title. Like I said, I don't know. It's very, very possible, and if that match is on next week's card, it's going to be fantastic because I can't wait to see it. If they did, I missed it, which is very possible because, like I said, I was behind a little bit tonight, so I was fast-forwarding a bit through commercial breaks and missing some points.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I just found the tweet. Yeah, they put up about an hour ago, and yeah, Carmelo and Escobar. Yeah.
All right, so we do have, as Cody is saying, Cody is correct, we do have Santos Escobar versus Carmelo Hayes. It's going to be a knockdown dragout. I'd put that in the main event, but then again, I'm biased because Carmelo Hayes is from Boston, and I think he's fantastic. Astrid, where can everybody find you? I know you're not doing a whole lot this weekend because you're on assignment, but where can we typically find Astrid on Love Wrestling and everywhere else?
Well, I'm not here per se. You can find me on Twitter. There will be the same, Astrid Bizarro. I'll try to randomly go on the Plug podcast every now and then, so I'll be there. This week I won't be doing much for wrestling. Unfortunately, I have family that's coming to visit, so I just want to spend some time with them. I haven't seen them in quite a while, but I'll be here next week again for NXT though.
Very, very nice. And we have a wonderful message from our friend Bobby Munson, who says, Asher and Ed, you are both amazing. Excellent show from the both of you. Hope you both have an amazing night. Good night to everyone who tuned in to Love Wrestling tonight. Your friend Bobby. Bobby, we love having you on the show. Thank you very much for all those kind compliments. I'm just happy to see you jumping in and doing stuff on Love Wrestling. You've been a supporter on on our Sunday brunch shows for a while, and we were hoping to see you popping in. It's nice to see you popping in with a lot of this NWA stuff. You really have a good take on the old school style of wrestling, and the NWA suits that very well. I'm excited to see you talk about other things if we can get some MLW talk, because I know you're a big fan of them as they start getting ready to put together bigger shows as they've just started taping again. I know they taped from the 2300 in Philly recently. We have Cody saying, thank you for tolerating me tonight. Cody, it's always fun having you around, and I think we're going to have you around for a long time to come as we go. They're amazing. Thank you again. You are a wonderful supporter, and we greatly appreciate it. You can find me. Oh, we even have Nightbot, telling us where you can find us on Instagram because I clicked the wrong button. You can find me at edfries12584 on Twitter. You can find me moderating the Tom Collar Huge Twitch channel on Mondays and Fridays for spoiler warning and his watch-alongs. More importantly, you can also find me here for the War Report NXT edition. You can find me helping out and hosting on the Saturday morning, currently the React show. As we love Wrestling Reacts, as we react to the week of wrestling. It's always fun. It's always an experience. And you can occasionally find me on Sunday Brunch or Blowing Off Stream. We will have Blowing Off Stream back this Saturday, so please check in, as I think there's going to be some fun Jackbox games that were purchased. So hopefully some new fun Jackbox coming soon. That being said, this has been the War Report. I'm Ed. That's Ash. That's Astra the Natural. This left-right thing is always confusing. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week.